see that, but the main purpose of these CESU guidelines is to give everyone a starting point, a checklist of the types of questions that you're going to need to find answers to in your community in order to create the business structure around a CESU, and to do it in this unique way. So let's begin. So we're going to talk about, once again, just an introduction and the history of free energy, a little bit about business in the new paradigm. We have a bunch of CESU organizational tools that you can do, and just a little bit of next steps. So I've been saying this a bunch, and just in case you didn't realize, 80 to 90% of everyone's income goes to pay for energy. So you might say, well, it's my utility bill, it's my electricity bill. You know, it's everything. The cost of food, the cost of creating that food, the cost of energy goes into the price of food, the price of everything in this room, the chairs, the people, the transportation, all connected to the cost of energy. So when you have free energy, it's really a paradigm changer. It's a kingpin that can bring the rest of it and change everything else. So that's something to realize, the enormity of what you're doing in your CESU and how you're affecting the structure that we've had. So I think everyone here knows what the QEG is. It's quantum energy generator. And the CESU is a cottage industry community unit. So before we had the whole world run by corporations, people used to make things in their garages, in their homes. The community would come together, they would do certain kinds of crafts and then bring them to a local marketplace to trade with their neighbors and other communities. So we are taking all of this back to that level and going on a local grassroots level to get the QEGs out to the people directly in your community. Now, just as a little bit of a side note, we've had many conversations with people thinking about, well, let's make the QEGs in our community and then ship them to another country. Hopefully we can come up with some great ways to do that. But my personal vision at this point, what I see is make a CESU in a community, make the QEGs there, and drive them to people's houses. Because dealing with shipping an entire QEG unit to another country can probably get really hairy, as we have been experiencing with customs and the port. So if we can focus on that first, and then once the demand grows, which it's going to go very quickly, then maybe we can start getting some, higher industry minds in to figure out how to ship, huge cratefuls of QEGs in one way or the other. So, the other thing too that I really want to bring to the focus here is that everyone here that's doing this work, we're pioneers. We are absolutely pioneers, and it's not easy being a pioneer. You're going, the conductor has to turn his back on the audience. So it's that sort of thing. It's not going to be easy. You might walk into business situations where, this is what we want to do, and they're throwing all of these traditional business ideas at you, and it's not really, it's like, well, no, we need to do it a different way. So stand up, be brave, do things the way that your heart tells you that you need to do them, regardless of what Business 101 might say. History of free energy, around the QEG specifically. So Tesla is a brilliant inventor. J.P. Morgan is a bankster. Edison is another inventor who was in competition with Tesla, and Maxwell is a physicist who had two separate theories about the way energy works. So the first theory is open systems or free energy. The second theory was closed systems, or what we use today. And basically, just a little bit about the corruption of what happened here. J.P. Morgan and Edison stole most of Tesla's patents. Tesla wanted to bring out free energy 130 years ago, but financed by J.P. Morgan, who said, if I can't put a meter on it, I'm not going to let you do it. So we should have had free energy back then. It's been suppressed all this time. And J.P. Morgan and Edison also edited most of Maxwell's work and took out all of the information about how free energy works. So engineers will never learn about free energy in our universities. So that's just a little bit of information there. Asymmetrical systems, open systems that follow the laws of nature. That's what free energy is. That's what the QEG is. Symmetrical systems are closed systems, and they follow the laws of physics. So what we won't hear about are those asymmetrical systems in any of our mainstream educational universities. But thanks to the internet and the people and forums, this information has been spread. People are putting the information out there, people are doing the research, and it's becoming more and more widespread. And you can actually go and research this and learn about it. So the laws of physics, we get this a lot. Free energy, well, it goes against the laws of physics and perpetual motion. And they say that the free energy device, or the QEG, goes against the laws of physics. And the truth is, it doesn't go against the laws of physics because there's another set of laws called the laws of nature. And the QEG follows the laws of nature. So if you look at the whole picture and you see that there's two different types of systems, that would definitely explain why the argument is against the laws of physics. So the flight of the bumblebee, this is a great example to show how free energy works. I give this to my friend Ralph Ring, who had a beautiful explanation of how the bumblebee flies. So the laws of aerodynamics would say that the bumblebee is too large for it to lift itself up with those tiny little wings. But what we don't realize is that there's a little hollow tube in the throat of the bumblebee. And the bumblebee beats its wings, and it creates a resonance chamber inside of that hollow tube. So when you're dealing with frequency, when you match the frequency inside the environment to the same frequency outside of the environment, energetically, according to the laws of nature, you reach something known as 0 point. And when you reach that 0 point, you can then take the energy and change it into whatever you want. In the case of the bumblebee, it beats its wings, creates the frequency inside, reaches 0 point, and creates an electromagnetic field around itself using that energy, and then hovers around. And that's how the bumblebee flies. In the case of the QEG, you reach resonance, and then you can change that energy into electricity to power your home. So it's a fascinating concept. And here was something I learned about 0 point to give you a little bit of a feel as to how that works. Nassim Haramein, I'm not sure if many people knew this, but he was actually a professional skier at one point in time, and he describes 0 point as that moment when you're skiing and you lift to turn the other way and your weight shifts, right that moment in the center when you're turning from side to side. That is what 0 point energy is and what it feels like. So that was a really great way for me to understand it.
Did you see the YouTube video where his wife's going to have a baby and she's in a birthing pool and he just goes and kisses her and she orgasms and has a child?
I did not see that, but now I want to go watch it. That's beautiful. That's 0 point energy. Oh, goodness. So, Fix the World organization, the way this began, just a tiny bit about my own personal background. I was working in a big corporation, working with investment banks. I saw lots of corruption, and I blew the whistle and lost my job as a result of that, had my own awakening process, did tons of research about the way things really work in this world, understanding the true power structures. And through this experience, I started to receive my own inspiration, or I call them downloads of information, because I experienced that corruption viscerally. I was in it. So I was able to pinpoint the certain points in our business operations where the corruption begins. And if you go there in that process and you flip it and you do something differently, that's how we can change the way we do business. My personal passion, free energy is amazing. My personal passion is business and doing business a better way, which all comes down to how we treat people and how we treat each other. So from that, through that download, I created the new paradigm business model. It's a 30-page document or so. It's up on our website. It goes pretty in-depth with a lot of concepts and theories. And so we're just going to bring out a couple of them here to explain how we do business differently Now, we've been doing business this way for a little over a year now, and so far, we're having success. It's working, and people can't understand quite why, but I think that so far our results are pretty good. So some of the things in the new paradigm business model that we focus on: cooperation instead of competition, understanding that we've been living in this limited liability society where no one wants to take responsibility for anything ever, and that's not the way to do it. We're going to talk about the reasons why humanity has not had free energy. Also, creating a unified field of energy in your business. If you come together like we did with the heart map before we started this presentation, come together with the people that you're working with and create a meditation or some form of a unified field where your hearts can connect, that will make you so much more successful in anything that you do. And the alchemy of giving is also extremely important because we're tapping into a different energy stream so that you can have what you need in order to succeed in your CESU. So, old ways of doing business. There was a fascinating documentary put out called The Corporation, and it's a couple hours long, and they go pretty in-depth with all of the different characteristics that the corporation seems to exude. Now, corporations are known as a legal person, but they said if this was an actual living, breathing person, and you brought it to a shrink, that they would diagnose the corporation as a psychopath, because these are the different characteristics that the corporations have been exuding. Callous unconcern for the feelings of others, the incapacity to maintain enduring relationships, reckless disregard for the safety of others, repeated lying and conning others for profit, incapacity to experience guilt, and failure to conform to social norms and lawful behavior. So, I love this film. It really, it was really justifying for me because I was like, yes, that's exactly what they do. Not all corporations. We're not doing a blanket statement. We're just talking about the old way of doing business, and if you see the results, a corporation comes into a small town and takes all the business out of the town and leaves environmental pollution. The list goes on and on. So it's a great film. I would highly recommend it. Okay, so here's a question. Would like to have a couple of people give some answers. How long do you think the future is? Anyone?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Now? Okay. Anyone else?
Unlimited.
Unlimited? Okay, so future's now. If you ask a politician how long the future is,
5 years.
it's however long they're in office, and they don't care about the rest of it. You know, if you ask a trader on the stock market how long the future is, it's the few seconds they have the trade in their hands before they get rid of it. Right? So this is part of the problem. We have not been thinking about longevity. You know, most people, normal, average people who care about themselves, their environment, their families, the future is my family, my children, my children's children. It goes out a few generations, and that's kind of where we're thinking. All of the business decisions that are made, that we all live in this matrix, in this world, with these decisions that have been made based on people who are only thinking about the few minutes for the trade or the 4 years in office. So when we think how long is the future, and for Fix the World, we put longevity and sustainability right into the mix, in the forefront of all of our business decisions. So rather than going in with a project and saying, we're going to go in, and then in 2 weeks we're going to save the world, and then, next year it'll be, we say we're going to go in and we're going to start building, and we're going to teach, and we're going to spread the knowledge so that generations down the road can be affected by this. So that's something that you should think about with your CESU and the business decisions that you make. So here's this concept of cooperation instead of competition. We've all heard of Darwin's survival of the fittest. Well, we've been led to believe that it's been incorrectly applied, because they say, well, survival of the fittest. And competition is healthy for business. This isn't true. Survival of the fittest was not meant to be applied to every life form of all time on Earth. If you look at nature, it teaches us the opposite lesson, that nature cooperates, and that's where we all thrive. If you look at the cells of the human body, there's all these different components, and they're all cooperating together in order to create life. There's some fascinating talks and some great books. This is all part of the New Paradigm Business Model. Greg Braden put together some information about aggressive competition. Aggressive competition is basically win at the expense of others, win at all costs. And it's this aggressive competition that has been dominating our business world today that trickles down and hurts people. So if we flip the energy there and we look into cooperation instead of competition, that's really important. For Fix the World, we've come across this so many times. Right now with free energy, there's other inventors that want to compete. They want to own something. They want to control something. These are all energies that are part of that competitive nature. It's not about that. Cooperate. Get along. Work with each other. Sometimes it's hard. You got personalities, right? It's all about relationship management in the end. But if you focus on cooperation and not competing, you can always end up in a much better place. Okay, so let's call it like it is. It's really not that complicated why we have not had free energy for all this time. It comes down to human behaviors: greed, fear, lies, suppression, and secrecy. So in all that we do, we want to flip the energy to do the opposite. Give back, have courage, be honest, spread awareness, and be transparent. Okay, in everything that we do. The truth shall set us free. Now this is an amazing, amazing concept that we have been experiencing in our organization. The people that we work with have been experiencing it. There is an actual alchemy in giving. It's a little hard to explain, so it's just an example that we can see in nature. When there's an inflow and an outflow of water, you have a living lake. The water is clear, life can live in there, it's abundant and thriving and healthy. When you only have water flowing in and no outlet, you have a stagnant pond. And the only thing that can live in there are bugs and bacteria. So if we look at this, we want our business operations to be living lakes. So at Fix the World, we plan our giving. If money comes in the, it's currency, right? So currency is a current flowing in and out. If we say, let's just take, and not plan our giving to create that outlet, then we'll become a stagnant pond. There's many different ways that you can plan your giving. We actually write it into our budgets. If we have a crowdfunding campaign and we bring in $10,000, we plan to give X% to these different causes or people that need it. So it's not the person that we're helping or the thing that we're doing. It's creating the energy around that giving. And what we've noticed is that we've kind of tapped into this band of the alchemy of the energy of giving. And when we're there as an organization, money just starts to flow. Resources start to flow. People start to show up. It's like we've tapped into something magical, and it has floated us all the way through. And it's not just money, people. It's about people too. I went to Australia for 3 weeks. I planned to stay in a hotel. I had a budget line for that. I got to Australia. I didn't spend a single night in a hotel because people kept saying, stay with me, I'll feed you. And there was this giving. There was this giving energy. And once you tap into that, you can put it into your business operations. There's actually an area of the brain that doesn't have objectivity or time. It doesn't understand those things. So it doesn't think in terms of a timeline or this is me and that's you. Instead, it just feels energy. So it doesn't know if the energy is going or coming. So when you give, you're actually giving to yourself. This is a quantum concept. And so if you're giving, you're receiving. If you've heard the receiving isn't giving, that's kind of how it works. It has to do with that area of the brain that doesn't recognize a separation between you giving to someone else or them giving to you. So if you want to receive things in your business, give and plan it. Yes?
I'd like to share from my own experience that that's one reason I'm here. When I went to Tehachapi and met with the original people that were going to start the Opal tour, I just said to myself, anybody that I can help to go on that tour, it will be like me being able to go on that tour. So I started buying people jewelry and, giving funds here and there. And 2 days later, I was on the Opal tour in an RV. And so then Hope puts out a request for funds to bring the court to Morocco. Tomas and I, we just popped out a PayPal and gave a donation, and like 3 weeks later, here we are in Morocco.
So that's a perfect example, because you got it. It's not, you have to take yourself out of the details and put yourself into a bigger energy stream. And there's millions of ways to do that.
And there was actually several months before that we had been speaking about, well, I wonder if we'll be able to get the money together to go to be with those people down there for maybe a couple of weeks. And after this happened, all of a sudden, within a month, we had what we needed for flights and everything, and here we are, and we're here unlimited. We're not here for a couple of weeks, and it just happened. We don't even, I can't even say where the money came from. I really can't.
The quantum field. Beautiful. So, in the case of the QEG and CESUs, a lot of people think that we're crazy for giving it away. They say, we've gotten some emails. Oh boy. That's happened to me at least 4 times. You're right, Hans.
They're called mindful chairs.
You can sit down, but you can't get up.
Put 2 on. Put a second one on.
We need to mark the ones that fall. Just write bad chair on them. So we know.
Sit with strength.
So ways to give back. We've come up with this idea of a give back agreement. Now, in the old paradigm, we call it a royalty, but it doesn't work exactly the same way. Royalties, there's regulations on them. There's a certain kind of formatting, and it's controlled. Right? A give-back agreement is an option. If anyone who has their own CESU and is producing however many QEGs and selling them and making lots of money for their community for them, because it's a beautiful business concept, if you would choose to use Fix the World as one of your outlets so that you could be a living lake, we can create a very simple give-back agreement, which is just anything that the CESU operator feels comfortable with. A percentage, a dollar amount for every QEG, you can give that back to Fix the World. And let's say your business changes and later on down the road you want to give more or give less. It can change at any time. So it's completely optional, and it's a free and open concept. Before we even open sourced, we talked about the give back agreement, and we got like 4 emails from potential CESUs that want to start giving back immediately. It's like, the plans aren't even out yet, but they want to give back. So I thought that was really cool. If you do choose to give back, to let you know what Fix the World would be doing with that money, we have over 60 projects, not just free energy. They cover all the different sectors of the human endeavor: education, environment, healing, the list goes on and on. They're brilliant, gorgeous projects. An accumulation of them coming from people all over the world, and we would use that money to fund those projects for the future. So an example that I like to give, while in Australia, I met a man that we call the Water Man. And this man has structured water. He works with Dr. Emoto, and he also has other technologies that are incredible. And basically, he's healed about 4,500 people of terminal illnesses: AIDS, stage 4 cancer, malaria. And I went and he gave me a presentation, and I saw he has mountains of evidence and proof and research. Here's AIDS blood before treatment. Here's AIDS blood after treatment. So he's one example of the next kind of project that Fix the World would like to bring out to give to humanity. Because this is huge. This guy is beautiful. He has angels all around him, and Big Pharma has been chasing him for years, trying to take him out because he's a huge threat to them. So that's what the give back money would go towards, is projects like that. The other thing too is that there's been some things like, well, QEG is really expensive. How can I afford one? Most people are in dire straits and they don't have a few $1,000s to buy a QEG. So there's ideas that you can do in your CESU to give back to your community. You can have sponsorship programs where you crowdfund a QEG for a family that can't afford it. Or if there's wealthy people in your community that are so excited about having a QEG, why don't you ask them, can you buy 2 or 3 more and give them away to people that can't afford them? If we start getting into this, giving back, this is how we're going to change the planet. So the other thing too, that reputation is extremely important. So guard it with your life. We'll talk a little bit about using social media and the internet as your way of marketing your products and your CESU to your community, because it's extremely powerful. I have a blog, the Hope Girl blog, Fix the World organization. We have a website. We've gathered a following of people that follow the work that we do, and we get them from all different angles. We get trolls, we get people trying to say negative things, but we have 95% of the people are just gorgeous. Love, support, donations, help in any way, shape, or form. And any time that we would need to put something out publicly, we have to be very, very careful with using grace and tact when we do so. Trust me, there's really bad days when I run around cursing my head off because some troll said something and made my mom cry, right? But the important thing is to not focus on that negativity. It's to focus mainly on how am I going to present myself, because you have to think about the ripple effect of the reputation, because it could destroy you if you have a bad reputation. We all know this. But it can also be the thing that brings that co-creative energy together with all different people. And, at this point, we've got a really good reputation because we put in a lot of hard work and we didn't respond to the negative things over time. And here we are. We wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't be able to bring free energy out if we didn't have the love and the trust of the people because of the reputation. So let's remember that. Okay, so here's just a couple of some practical organizational tools for CESUs. So the way that this is kind of like a project management concept. First, you need to think about the questions you need to answer, and then when you have answers to those questions, you can start to organize them all together into a schedule or a plan. So I'm going to throw some of these questions out there, and if you want, you can think about the CESU that you might be creating in your community or just a random idea. So, Otis, who will build them?
Well, the way I'm thinking of it, the small, communities, teams of people, next door people, an electrician or an engineer that we all know, will form this basic structure, these units that will be able to put generators together and provide them to people we know. So by doing that, we'll have the chance to spread that model to all parts of each country, and it will always be done under the radar of the state. The state cannot interfere with that since it is being done within the boundaries of our home or our garage, etc. Maybe it will be a non-money economy model. So it's even possible that no taxes will be burdened the construction of QGs, and it's a grassroots model.
Beautiful.
So it can grow very fast, further and deeper than any other model. At least that's what we're going to try to do in Greece.
Love it. Thank you very much. This is great. And these, if you want, these are the questions that I would write down. So if you want to go back and start a CESU, you have to answer these questions first, and that'll give you everything that you need to get going. Would anybody like to volunteer who they think would source the parts? Anne? Whitney?
Not that but for me, sourcing the parts would be relationships that we build with people that have the means to do that, and we can find those who we resonate with and who will work on already in a heart-based centered way. I know there's already people out there that have machine shops that already have the ability to do things like this, that want to work with people in a very upfront manner. So I guess we'll have to go out and find those people, and then we'll share who we've found as globally. We'll share the companies that we feel that's how I would do it. Find the ones that we know are taking good care and have good ethics in what they're doing, and then share those sources with other people, and those sources will become more affluent because of that. So.
That's perfect. As we're learning here, as our family has been learning in the last few months, as they learned in Taiwan as well, sourcing parts is exactly all about relationships. And they can make it or break it. We've been blacklisted from a manufacturer in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this company is on your user manual too, because we ship internationally. They cut us off. They won't even deliver to us in Pennsylvania. Go figure.
Right?
Did you ask them why they did that?
I did, and they hung up on me.
For no reason. I mean, it's just...
Well, the reason is that they don't want to... Jamie put it perfectly, actually. What did you say? Well, just that they... Something along the lines of...
They're protectionists.
Protectionists, that's it.
This is McMaster Card. All you engineer guys know they're like Granger, same type of company. We asked them to ship overseas, and they said, no, we can't do that. And then a few days later, they called back and said, we can't, you're off our customer list.
Pennsylvania? I said, right. I said, well, why? I don't understand. Click.
So you might think, oh, it's a part is a part. Right now, we've got the most complicated parts made it here, and the simpler parts we can't get, or we're getting, but they're taking a while. And we know there's a lot of reasons behind this, and as we discussed in the radio show last night. So, but if you can develop a relationship with a good parts supplier, that is worth its weight in more than gold. Yes.
On my journey, I've come across different things.
Yeah, you gotta speak up.
In my journey, I've come across different people in situations that I notice as I'm going along. I think, that would be useful to remember, because I know who I can pass that information to, because they can do that, and that's what they're looking for. I mean, I remember years ago about a guy I met in a few people gathering together in London to talk about free energy. And this guy was setting up a company, Lynch Motors it's called. He's up in Somerset now, and I've been thinking about him to do like windings and that. And I know he's interested in these things, and it's like one of those little memories that we all have. You know, we all notice things and we can share that information. So I just thought, share that, because I love sourcing things, I love doing that. But I'd also like to be able to do my other things as well, and it's like being able to share those nuances.
In Germany, I tried to order the parts, and it was a big company, and they said our risk management was in contact with the German government, said we will not produce it because the German government blacklisted it as dangerous and unserious. The German government.
German government blacklisted what?
The QEG.
The QEG.
I didn't know that.
They don't even know what it is, right?
I asked for the parts of a big company, it's producing parts, can produce the parts, and they answered, sorry, our risk management said, and its contact with the German government, it's unserious and dangerous.
The QEG.
Oh, QEG, they just made a blanket. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm sure it's a single situation, because I have 160 people looking for the parts, everybody taking care of 5 or 6 pieces or whatever, and I haven't heard any message like this.
Okay, so maybe it's one of the companies, but okay, the risk management, he said the company's risk management.
I would say they want
in contact with the German government, and the German government said.
Yes,
so I asked them to make me an offer. You have to ask the German government, but they don't.
I'm
answer.
sure.
Like which companies are asking the German government for an estimate how to deal with the
no government, no company.
only the big companies.
We will blacklist the company.
Sorry.
I suggest the German group will meet afterwards and exchange more details.
Yeah, and this is where creativity.
It looks like that they want to get rid of you, and they just invented some stuff.
What a small company printing, and how many of the parts can be printed? So, you know,
It's actually a really good question.
Let
And
me
this,
know
it's
about
good
the
that we're
company.
spending a little bit of time on this
Send me a
parts question,
message.
because this is huge. As
About
we
the
see, we can't build the QEG if we're missing any of the parts, right? What can we make on 3D printers?
Bobbins.
Yes, they're already being made.
They're made.
They're in the next generation.
Process, yep.
All right, so can you unpack that a little bit for everybody who's not? So first of all, what is a bobbin?
Just one more
Yes.
sentence to this one. We found just the opposite side. This group, 4 guys of this group went to one company dealing with especially transformers and electric motors, and they will get an offer in this week. And they went there 10 days ago, and they got a lot of information what to take care of and what's important. And they have machinery for torial, winding, automatic, and they contacted also 2 or 3 other companies, and they wanted to contact the 4th or 5th company. But before they could do it, the company asked the guy who was taking care of the group in Germany and called him and asked, we heard that you are dealing with such a thing, can we do something for you?
And that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that story and the other story as well, because what you're going to find, don't take no for an answer. Get creative.
Yeah, and many.
Try again and again and again,
I think
because
that-
you'd be surprised.
I think that all of the governments are going to be that way. You know, we're dealing with somebody in Ulm who was on board very, very early, and he keeps writing to us and saying he's trying to get permission from the government and the Ministry of this and the Department of that. Maybe it's a language barrier, which is possible, but we keep trying to emphasize this is not where you want to go. You want to find a little workshop somewhere, and then we start spreading out from there. But I think that's going to be, you're going to find that in all the governments.
There's a poem called "Do It Anyway."
Yeah. The government are our servants. They've forgotten.
They
Remind them of that.
The consent of the governed.
That's
right.
We don't need government.
But there's a poem called "Do It Anyway." I wish I had it memorized, but the gist is Mother Teresa brought it out, and it's like, you know, people will say this and that about you, but do it anyway. Be good anyway. Do the right thing anyway. Build anyway. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous poem, and that's the mentality that you have to have when you're coming up against governments trying to get parts, people saying no, getting blacklisted. Just keep going and do it anyway, and you'd be surprised at what opens up.
I think most of us here will be black sheep, so we'll
You know, yes, we had this conversation yesterday that a lot of us here are the black sheep in our family or our community. But here we are, now we're a whole flock of black sheep. Right?
That's why we get blacklisted.
And I grew up on a sheep farm, and I know that term very well. I think ideally we are going to start to see cottage industries making parts. You know, maybe not right in the community where the queech is being assembled, but say, I just came from the state of Oregon. Within the state of Oregon, there will be specialty industries making bearings or, you know, the core or whatever, you know, parts of it. And then it will just be a matter of like a day between, you know, ordering and getting.
Nice.
You don't have to even ship across the United States. So, and I think that the 3D printer is going to rapidly come on board as a way of producing some of these parts.
It's beautiful. So I want to make sure that we touch on the 3D printer. Does everyone here know what a 3D printer is? You can like make a house for $10,000 or something with a 3D printer. It's amazing. So the 3D printers, and I've been speaking to a lot of people who have a network of them. Dave Stewart and those guys, they're getting 3D printers out all over the place to make all kinds of stuff, and they're really excited about making parts for the queech with the 3D printer. So the question is, what can you make with the 3D printer for the QEG?
Well, I'm not an expert in it. In fact, as far as I know, this is what's been coming up in the last 3-4 years is the second generation of 3D printers. They had these back in the 80s. You know, where you had a small machining center and you just run the program and it would laser cut. But back then it was soft materials only. They could only make models that were really not operable because it was just soft stuff. You know, so that you could have a 3D thing to look at to then produce in some mass production situation. But the current generation, they're making hard parts now, real parts. That you can actually use. And amazingly enough, just as we're going through this redesign for the insulation system, this Jeremy came to us and said that we can make these bottles. We're making them now, and they're in touch with Tarolpa, the guy that we started with. And they're making the parts right now. In fact, I think they have some done. So it's going to go right into the basic design of the QEG right now. The next ones he builds are going to have 3D printed bobbins.
Yay!
That is fast.
And you know, I have to also say this one little thing about this, because I want to give everybody credit where credit is due as much as I can. What's that term for when things are invented from different people all over the world at the same time, and they don't know each other? There's a term.
Monkey syndrome. Monkey syndrome.
Yeah, that's part of the concept, but
One is called
Coincidence.
connectivity.
Non-linear connectivity.
I think this is multiples of,
Morphogenetic fields.
I don't know what it
I
is,
think
but
so.
you get the concept.
Nope.
So
6 people invented the light bulb at the same
At the same
time.
time,
across the
different.
world.
Okay.
Something is
Community
Global
consciousness.
consciousness.
3 people that I know of invented these bobbins at the same time, and they all came to us at the same time, and they were all like, "You mean you know about the bobbins? I thought of the bobbins." So we figured figured that out. So we're getting a little bit of that phenomenon too, which has been historically very important in our evolution.
And you know, with your,
Wait.
sorry.
Hang on a second, just want to...
But first, maybe as an answer on this, last year in autumn I came 5 times, I think, within 1 week across an energy amplifying system, different ones,
Yeah.
just because I was looking for it.
Yeah.
An alternative for the present one I got already, but it didn't work properly. So that is an answer that way. Talking about this nano-printing, if I'm not wrong, 3D printing. It's talking about nanostructures finally. So that means we have certain powders. I'm not very sure about chemistry that way, but I think finally, of my impression, we have to be a little bit carefully. In this generation of 3D printing, we are dealing with chemistry, we are dealing with core elements finally, and none of that. That means we have really huge amounts of chemical structures to be dealt with, and I'm not quite sure whether this is really a solution for big quantities of production. To me, it seems more to be a solution for, let's say, prototyping. And it is done in automotive industry, as I'm sure, for parts of the automobiles in developing the prototypes. In the next round, I think we have to look for how it may turn out to use renewable material. That means organic materials. Then we are on the track again, I think. It is recovering again. It's not disturbing our nature anymore. Actually, there are chemical structures in it which are not sustainable out of life. So there has still be a change. It's on the run. As I informed, there are organic materials used already, actually, but it's still a way to go, as far as I can go.
Thank you for bringing that out, because that's something that's very important to
I'm
me
concerned
as well.
with
I
that.
think about the chemical and the radiation and all of that
That's
stuff.
it. Just to make it solid,
Yeah.
these nanostructures are as solid as I'm told as the originally produced by, let's say, solid material, copper, whatever, or even an alloy, whatever. It's not quite the same, so it's solid. But I think it's the right way to go to do it even more sustainable.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, you see, because when we make the designs in 3D printers, we can also all the patterns as well, so everybody automatically, I mean, that's just one image, and then if everyone's got 3D printers, we can start printing their parts straight away. We don't have to do the design unless somebody gets a modification. And I think they make ones now where they're actually printing metal parts as well.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Dave Stewart sent me a picture of QEG blown out to show all the parts that could be made with 3D printing. It's on my Facebook page, or if you need it, someone Skype me or grab me.
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love. Actually, that would be great to put into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to move through the rest of them a little bit quickly. The parts is huge because that's what we're dealing with right now. But once you get into the other aspects of it, and you have the parts, and you have the source, basics. Who will manage the customers? I would personally highly suggest you find somebody who's really good with people, who's really good with cranky people, who knows how to talk to people the right way, because customer service is, it's really important, especially because this is such a unique product. There's going to be a lot of interesting things that will pop up. Part of that is who's going to deliver it and install it. It should be relatively simple. If you have like a basic switch that you would use to hook up a normal generator to a house, you can use the same thing and hook this up, but it needs to be delivered there. You need an electrician who knows what they're doing to tune it and to turn it on and to get it running for the person in their home. So think about that stuff as well. And this next one will be interesting. We're going to leave this up to the CESUs with service plans. What happens if something goes wrong? It's I don't know, there's a flood, or something gets rusty, or the QEG breaks down for a reason, not because of the design, but because of some other act of God or whatever. People need help. They need QEG service. This is a brand new industry. So how would you like to handle that? Do you want to do sort of this is completely your responsibility, we're going to sell you this product, and there's a couple parts you can maintain, or do you want to do something different? So there's that. And very important too is how can you protect it? Before even coming to Morocco, some people said to me, you're going to donate a QEG to Morocco to run a well. How are you going to keep that QEG from being stolen?
These damn plastic chairs. I was gonna say, if this thing's breaking under Fotise's weight, we got some serious issues.
Put two, one on the other.
I'm sorry for the break. We're going to be taking Fotise and move on to the airport in about 10 minutes. So if anybody wants to give him a big hug goodbye.
Well, actually, if I can have a couple of minutes,
Yes.
I'd like to say a few things.
Please do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, after I have left, after I